Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, June 6th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, and I'm going to call it to order. Marcia, roll, please.
Velma Cunningham.
Here.
Clark Gruber.
Here.
Larry Heinig.
Here.
Suzanne Loafman. Michael Neese.
Here.
Rosalie Placati.
Here.
Amanda Sukup. Janice Varney.
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, item 3, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of the meeting minutes from May 2nd and the special meeting of May 9th.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from May 2nd and May 9th.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 5, interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. Is anybody in the audience to speak about anything that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, special land use application and site plan review for 807 LaGrange, used car lot and public hearing.
Do you want a motion to open yet?
No, I think we'll get a quick
Okay.
staff rundown of the project.
Sure, good evening. We have here the applicant Jeremy Washagizik, who, with the consent of the owner, Phil Freeman, is applying to utilize this property as a used car lot, as well as continue doing auto detailing, which has been used on the lot previously by Bodfish. There's been a plan that has been submitted, this parking plan, which I've had placed on the overhead, as well as the engineer has reviewed this. We've also had our zoning consultants at Williams & Works review this. The initial plan called for, I think, around 30 or 32 cars on it. They've shrunk this down to approximately, I think, 25. They are here to discuss what's in their application, as well as what they would like to do on the lot, if the commission would have any questions. So this lot previously did have some variance issues, and that there has been a variance issued for this, for relief from the overlay zone. The current applicant, Mr. Washagizik, has been putting landscaping out there to comply with that, and actually is more than what was required. So from that respect, I think the city is very satisfied with what we see out there.
Okay. Well, what do you want to do? Do a public hearing now, or have the owner come up?
Public hearing. Mr. Chairman, I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is open. Is there any interested citizen that would like to speak about this project?
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. So we've had the public hearing. What do we want to do with this next?
Just for clarification purposes, this is the site plan we're looking at, not the one that was in sketch that had the other layout. I think specifically the handicap parking space has been moved now to that northwest property line.
That is correct. I can have also the applicant come up here to speak on that, but this was what has been approved by the engineer, the city's engineer.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for your time.
What's your name and your address?
Jeremy Washagizik, 920 Superior Street. I'm here on behalf of Paceline Auto Group. I guess where would you like me to start?
You have some questions, Larry?
Yes. the ordinance is quite specific about the planting that needs to be, and you've shown us some locations, but there's no description of what it is that's going to go in there. Do you have that detailed at this point, or
Yeah, actually-
is that still kind of open?
Thank you. If you look next to the red arrows, we
Yes.
placed boxwood trees in planters right now in 24 by 24 planters. There are 6, one next to each light post, and then alternating plantation, I'm not sure what they really are, it's red and green. They flowered, it actually looks pretty pretty now, but that's on that north end corner over there. And then we also have added some new planters there as well along the property on the, I guess it would be the west side of the building.
According to the proposed parking plan there, it looks like you're planning to close that one access site, the one furthest east along Willow. Is that correct?
Potentially, yes. If it would make it simpler for customer parking, we would move to close that entrance and exit. Currently, there's 2 on each roadside now, so there's plenty of entrances and exits and pretty easy flow of parking.
Do you have your pointer?
I do. Would you like me to hand it to you? Or?
No, not to me. If the board will refer to page 22. So we have 5 things for certain we have to verify here. Orientation of customer parking spaces. So this is, well, let's go back to the map. So that is the orientation,
Yes.
okay. Internal circulation issues related to parking, has that been addressed?
I have a question about that.
Okay.
There is a rather tight pinch point there at the southwest corner of the building. Looks to me like you've got about 12 feet there between your used car and the building itself. Do you have any intention of controlling the direction of traffic through there?
I actually sent this back to our landscape architect. He was supposed to turn that car on an angle, so it's supposed to be on a 45 to make that an easier flow entrance and exit.
So we're talking about this north, this.
Yes,
this car
that's the
right
car
here.
there,
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll be turning like this then.
That'll be angled parking?
For that one vehicle?
That one vehicle.
On both points, so on that one there, on the northern one, and on the southern one as well would be, so flow would be not pinched off.
They would all be angled, or?
No, on the, yep, that one, and then at the bottom of that row.
This one right here?
This one as well, yes.
Okay.
Kind of keep it,
Just those 2?
So is that a loss of a space by angling those 2 in parking spaces?
possibly, yeah, it would probably shrink up our inventory space there a little bit, but if it would satisfy entrance and exit pinch points, we would.
And would those spots be lined or marked that way? Would that be necessary for?
We just resurfaced our blacktop. I suppose we could have those drawn in. Really, it's a parking lot for.
It's for
car
your
dealerships.
internal, right?
It's a little more free flow, just because some cars are larger than others, some, require more and less space. So it's a little more free flow with the design.
And that's parking for your inventory, not for customers, so.
Correct, yep. Customer parking is
Right.
along the backside there. Oh,
Sorry, wrong button. This is the customer parking in a different color.
Right.
correct.
And that would be clearly marked, right?
Yes.
Kate, do you know whether sales has looked at this in terms of getting their ambulance in and out of this site?
No, I don't believe that they have. I don't think that they've had that opportunity yet. With Shays, they would have the opportunity to come off of Willow, but I've also found that if they need to get in someplace, they find a way.
That might be a very used car by then.
Well, and shades may find themselves utilizing the street as well. Sometimes they're more comfortable there and bringing hoses in that way.
Well, I'm not thinking of hoses, I was thinking of ambulance.
Right.
But
And I'm not sure what scale he used for these vehicles too. You know, I would guess these are more like a large SUV-sized space that he used for these because when you park your car in there, it doesn't look like it takes up that much space like it does in this diagram.
What else you got, Larry?
That's all I had.
Okay.
I just had a quick question too. So it's going to be auto detailing as well?
Correct, yes. We are in the process right now of revamping our detail shop to offer new products and services that weren't previously offered by the previous occupant.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We're happy about,
excited.
we're happy about that.
I think the one area too that the consultant had looked at was indicating location of garbage disposal and the recycling site. Where is that going to be located on the site?
Tucked into the corner, just north of the ADA barrier-free, there's a large, long fence line right back there.
Okay.
So right back there, there's plenty of space for a receptacle.
And my understanding was there won't be a repair shop there, so,
No,
so you're
no.
not going to be having any hazardous materials to worry about.
It's car suds.
Might as well hit the sign too, Clark.
Yeah. The other thing that was, the question was clarifying the size, type, and location of the sign. I know a lot of times it's beneficial in a business like this to advertise
Right.
via a sign. So what are you looking at with regards to that?
We have our sign, we have one sign right now, but we haven't installed it yet because we are currently getting our roof re-roofed, so I didn't want to get damaged. But we do have one that's 24 by 48 that will go in the western facing corner, I guess adjacent to our entrance. Oh, thank you.
Here's the red button.
Red button, there you go. So right here, a sign will be placed there. Also, we have installed large glass double doors that will serve as a, I guess, a signage as well. We have new die-cut emblems that are going in there, indicating hours, phone number, website.
Yeah. Seems to answer questions and not taking up space on the lot itself. Reconfiguration looks good. And even the consultants had said there's a lot of ingress and egress to the property, so, you know, three entrances or exits seem to be pretty good. Those are my questions.
Okay.
Right, in those three, red button. This one, and this one, and this one are actually quite a bit larger than this one.
Yeah.
This one, it's a very tiny one. It'd be like a single-car garage, if you want a visual.
Could you indicate what the northeast curb cut is?
Northeast curb cut, I believe. So northeast.
Yeah.
Is it that
here?
one? That's what I'm guessing, but I just wanted to
Yeah,
verify.
okay, yes, I'm sorry, I'm not
Okay.
very directionally challenged here.
All right.
But yeah, that's, it's a really small entrance.
Okay. Well, any further questions from the board about the, those 5 issues on page 22? No? Okay. Have they been addressed to your satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So in order to move further on this, there's a list of 7 additional items for approval. So that's what you're working with in order to make a motion.
I guess, Kate, procedural question, or
Yes.
maybe Nick, can we make one motion to cover both the special land use and the site plan?
Yes, and you can also refer to the conditions as stated in the planning consultant's report. You don't have to say them all.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the site plan and the special use permit for 807 LaGrange, including the 7 items listed in the staff report.
I support that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Good luck.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, so just so everybody's caught up, page 28. Item 7, special land use application and site plan review for 950 and 954 Blue Star Highway, New Bronson Hospital. Kate?
Thank you. This is for the New Bronson Hospital that would face Blue Star Highway. This would be utilizing many of the different areas that are already on the parcel. They would be reusing some of the pavement. Tracy Hutchinson from, I think, Elzinga is here, as well as Jake Smith from Bronson Hospital. And there's another person here to talk about the approval, the site plan that has being presented tonight. Just to let you know, this has gone through many different reviews with the building inspector, with the fire inspector, with the city engineer. So we've had multiple meetings on this project. We're trying to bring you a fully fleshed out plan that we've seen any kind of potential problems, and again, also with electric, so we've really beat this thing up, so.
Okay. So let's do public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the public hearing
Okay.
for Bronson Hospital.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing's now open. Anybody that wishes to speak about this project, come up and state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Don Bemis from 740 Phillips Street. One of the items for this is, one of the requirements is the site plan shall be consistent with the general purposes and spirit of the ordinance and the comprehensive plan of the city. And first note under that, and the review says the 2018 master plan future land use map indicates the subject parcels within the health services category. The intent of this category is to note this: promote and expand the health services industry by providing an attractive setting and supporting amenities. I was rather surprised to see a site plan without a building elevation. I have no idea what's going to be in the building, and if the services are really going to expand the medical options in South Haven, particularly since one of the first things that was done was to close the surgical unit, and there are no plans to replace it. I would like to know what else is going to be removed that would require people to move out of town, specifically CT scan, MRI, radiology, the hyperbaric chamber, cancer care, short-term inpatient care as opposed to long-term inpatient, orthopedic care and pediatric care. If any of those things are going to be removed, it's going to be a step backward, and it's going to make it harder to attract doctors to South Haven. This site plan doesn't help us to understand where we are on that. I kind of wonder if down the road this will just be a level 4 trauma unit, maybe long-term nursing, doctor's offices, and receiving and transshipment to Kalamazoo and to the surgical unit in Paw Paw. I think we need some answers on that, specifically with regard to the master plan and what it expects. If those haven't been answered, I think the city really needs to enter into a little bit more conversation with the hospital and find out exactly what the plans are and make sure that the new hospital will promote and expand the health services industry here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion for closing the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we want to have the engineer and Bronson representative up. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Hutchinson with Driesing & Associates, the engineer on the project. I also have Jake from the hospital here, and Brett from Elzig and Volkers, and they're the construction managers. This project is a two-story building. It has 35,653 square feet. It's located on two parcels totaling 4.3 acres. The property is zoned B2 to the north parcel and RM1 on the south parcel, as the existing hospital is zoned. The building height is 28 feet plus a cover for the stairwell. It is less than the 35 feet max called out in the zoning. The site access will be from two existing drives, the south one and the north one that also serves.
Here's the red pointer.
Thank you. Which one?
The red.
And the north one that serves the doctor's offices as well. Previously, there was a small driveway accessing the parcel that will be eliminated. It was very close to the other one. The site utilities will have water service coming off of Blue Star Highway and running along the north of the building. Those will be duplicate services. And for the sanitary, that will also come from the northwest corner of the property and hook into a manhole that is already on site, which then discharges out to Bailey Street. For stormwater management, we have a proposed new detention pond in the south. Right here, and that will intake storm from all the new pavement and from the new building into that basin, and it'll discharge into a smaller basin that was already on the site and outlet as before. There's a pipe from the new basin into the old basin, and that has a restricted flow to help slow down any discharge to pre-construction flows. For landscaping on the property, we have followed the zoning, and we have one tree per 8 spaces in the new parking lot, and each tree gets its own island or a square footage of island, and we actually have quite a large island right here, which provides approximately double the required landscaping. And then for the dumpster with an enclosure, we have that located up in the northwest corner. And that will have the CMU enclosure. And for signage, the hospital plans on using existing signs.
Does anybody have any additional questions?
I guess it was brought up when we look at the master plan. Is this a hospital or a medical building? That's why I was confused. Like, how's it licensed?
Jake, would you like to join us?
My name's Jake Smith. I'm the facilities manager here. I am also a resident in town, so I'm not just a representative from Bronson, so I do represent the community in that sense as well. It is a 5276 Parkview Lane. It is licensed as a hospital. We're transferring our license over to the new building, so it's not just the medical office building will be on top, and the main hospital will be the first floor, so that will encompass everything. And it will also, every service that we have in our current building will also continue in the new building as well. So we're not eliminating any services or anything. There's no plans for that.
But surgery was eliminated.
Surgery's already been eliminated. That is not going into the new building.
Yeah, okay. Now, will there be hospitalists in the new building?
Yeah, there will be inpatients, so hospitalists will still maintain those patients just like they do, bless you, just like they do in our current building.
So will there be overnight stays then for
Yes.
patients?
Yep, we're gonna, our license will be, we're applying for 8 inpatient beds, and that's dictated by the state based on our census. They have a formula that they put together. Right now, we're averaging 3.7 patients per
Okay.
average daily census, and we applied for 8 beds.
And what does it like peak out at during the summers when we get a lot of people? Because we may grow to 50,000
Right.
people, on a
It
weekend.
doesn't really impact inpatient so much.
Okay.
That impacts the ED, and our ED
ED.
is actually going to be bigger. So we're going to have 14 beds in the new ED.
Okay. So local providers will still have the ability to have privileges
Correct,
in the
yep.
building?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd like to follow up on Mr. Bemis's question regarding seeing a building plan. I know it was incorporated in our previous packet because I had asked some questions in my mind about it, but I don't see it in this packet that
Are you
we
looking for the
received.
elevations?
Uh-huh.
Those were just emailed today. I just asked IT. IT, can you put those elevations up?
Yeah, they were the same elevations as the prior packet, so I just didn't resend them.
Okay. And you were talking about patient rooms, and as I was looking at this the last time, I noticed, and this is a small thing, and I'm sure that I'm incorrect in how I'm saying it, but each patient room, does it have a restroom facility, a bathroom?
Yes,
Because
yep.
I didn't see that in the first one, and so
Okay.
I was just kind of
Yes,
wondering.
yep, so
And so
I-
I was wondering if it's going to be used in that way.
Yeah, so there'll be the 8 beds, there'll be actually 7 rooms. There'll be 1 semi-private room and then 6 private rooms. And they do have their own bathrooms and showers inside each of the 7 private rooms.
Okay.
Jake, if I may ask just a general question. As I understand your response to Mr. Bemis's points, we won't lose any services,
Correct.
but I'm also hearing we're not expanding services.
I think that will, to be determined by people that are above my pay grade, I guess.
Can you help me understand what the incentive was for the new hospital, since we have an existing one?
Sure. So the old hospital was built in 1941. It was part of the Hill-Burton grant money. We added on 7 different times over the years, 49, 1964, 79, 86 is when we put the medical office building on. 97, we put a new front on the building, and then 2003, we put in a courtyard and the MRI, and then in 2004, they put the Women's Center on. So there's still a lot of infrastructure in that building from 1941 that we've been kind of trying to keep going, and it's failing, more and more of it's failing. We did do a significant study, engineering study on the building, and it's going to be $40 to $50 million to rehab the existing building to get everything up to spec, and which is significantly more than the $22 million to build a new, and it'll right-size it a little bit more with for what we need.
And your intentions with the old building?
Will be eventually to demolish it. We did look at, are there ways that we could utilize it in other capacities or portions of it? And unfortunately, with the way it was constructed over the years, there's no good way to shear off. The one portion that we could really shear off and reuse is the medical office building, which is actually a wood structure building with just a brick facade, which is probably in the worst shape and really unsafe. We're not able to save that, so.
I know the city's been trying to contact somebody from the hospital to come talk to like our city manager, and we haven't had any luck. Looking at the old building to see if maybe that couldn't be turned into type senior housing.
So we did have a couple meetings. Brian
Okay.
came over and met, and a gentleman that works with development on that. We need to keep line of sight to the other side of the Bailey Avenue.
Okay.
For our regulatory purposes with our providers and everything, so we have to have a continuous campus. So if we were to give that property away, sell it or whatever, we'd lose that line of sight, and there would be some regulatory issues on our end. So we want to maintain the property. Plus, if we ever do want to expand, that's the area we'll be able to expand.
Okay. And is this a project with the current financial troubles? Is this something they're going to be able to go forward with?
Yeah, they've committed to this.
Okay.
I have a question. The infusion center that you had, and I know that's you know what I'm talking about for
Yep.
chemo and stuff, that's no longer there, and that's not coming back?
We do our infusion services on the 2nd floor. We just moved it upstairs.
Oh, good.
So
So it's still there. I didn't know that was still there. I'm glad to hear that. And then, yeah, I was interested too when you removed the old hospital, and maybe I didn't study my packet as well as I should, but what's that going to look like when you remove it? I mean, I know you've got parking,
Right.
I saw
So
more
the
parking.
idea is it'll be green space for the time being.
Green space.
You know, there's been several ideas thrown around, nothing concrete has been decided with it. You know, we have that the rehab pathways behind the wellness center.
Right.
I've talked to Scott Smith a little bit about, could we make a little rehab park over there? And, you know, with the ability to use, in the summer to use golf carts, we could shuttle, you know, patients back and forth and whatnot to there and use that as, you know, it'd be kind of a, you know, a rehab park, if you will, for a portion of it, but the plan is just green space for the time being.
Okay,
So
and that
that's
will
fine.
be done immediately upon, as immediately as possible?
Yeah, so we haven't set a timeline. We want to get it down as quick as possible. Several law enforcement agencies have contacted us with interest in using it for training
Sure.
a little while beforehand, before we tear it down, so we'll probably do a little bit of that, and there'll be some things to remove from the building, but then we would get it removed as soon as possible.
Are you also going to, just for, you know, the historical part of it, I'm sure there's some things in that old hospital that you're going to want to save. Are you going to engage any of the historical society in there to try to, you know, move some of that stuff and save it?
We've been talking about what we're going to do, and Elsing and Volkers, who's our contractor for this, they did a lot of work in Holland with their new building, and they're very familiar with being sensitive to the historical portions of buildings and whatnot, and are working to how we can incorporate those things. We do know there's a cornerstone in the building that we'll try
Yeah.
to remove that if we can. There's a time capsule that we'd like to try to.
Oh, is there really?
That's
Cool.
that's what we've heard, yes. So yeah, we'll do everything, and we're happy to work with the Historical Society, see what we can do.
Good, that's very important to South Haven. Good.
So, yeah,
Cool.
we've already had some talks about how we can incorporate. So.
Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is a special use. Yeah, the lighting plan, William and Work zoning review, Shay's report, engineer's report. Anything else you want to consider?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the site plan and special use permit for New Branson Hospital to include the 6 items on the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Again, my concern is that we did get an agreement that there would not be any loss of services with the new building. Do we have any protection that we can add to this to make sure that we don't lose any, or are we just taking them at their word?
I'm not sure if that can happen because,
Right.
you know, currently with some of what's been happening medically from a regional standpoint,
Right.
you know, it's going to be hard to say with surgery gone. And, you know, even when it was our hospital, a community-based hospital as opposed to an entity owned elsewhere, we couldn't handle OB anymore, you know, with the pay structure of Medicaid being 80 some odd % of births. You just couldn't lose that much more money. I don't know what'll be left, quite frankly. But
I think
this will
it's up
give them
to
an
the-
opportunity as if things change to be more
It's finished.
nimble with the larger building gone.
Right.
I think it's up
I
to
guess
the-
my question here is, we are approving something based on a statement of intent. If intent changes, I'll feel like we approved something that was not what was offered.
I think it's up to residents of the area what gets cut in the future. We lost the surgery unit because only 11% of the residents in this area were having their surgery done here. Now, if we stop using what we have, again, for some other service, we'll probably lose that. It's economics.
Sure.
Good point.
And I don't think we can blame any hospital management
It's
if
not
we
a
don't
question-
support them.
This is not a question of blame, it's a question of how we allocate our resources in this town.
Well, if you
Building a
provide
new
more,
building
if you
on
provide
the
more,
hope-
will more people come? If you provide less, less people come. You know, it's kind of one of those things, it's hard to say what really came first, the chicken or the egg, with regards to the loss of services. So, you know, this is just, you know, this is an ED unit. And then basically services are back, you know, back into the Kalamazoo area. So that's, you know, we should be happy they're redoing M43 and the helipad, which will be, I think there'll still be a helipad there.
Again, I'm not intending to color it one way or the other. We do have a master plan. The master plan is clear that says this should be approved if it does enhance healthcare in the city. I just want to make sure that I'm on record saying, look, I'll vote for it, but it's based on a promise that was made during this session.
And I concur, but I think what they're trying to say is this particular building will lower the cost to be able to keep what they have here versus just completely shutting it down.
I think also we need to keep in mind that when the master plan talks about a certain concept, it doesn't mean that each individual site plan we look at is going to be able to fulfill
Larry, I
every
understand that.
part of the master plan.
Larry, I understand that, but I'll go back to when we talked about the site plan, or the master plan, excuse me. I did have a grave concern then, as I do now, that a master plan does not just become an activity that we have to fulfill because it's required of us, that becomes a binder that sits on a shelf. It has to be a living document, and what we do on this committee and what the city government does has to be consistent with what our citizens' input said to put that master plan together. Sure, there's always going to be exceptions, but I don't want to make that activity seem like we just did that so that we could put a check in the box.
Agreed.
And I'll just reemphasize, one of the statements made was that the decision-making process for the construction was partly driven by census data. And we all know that census data for our town is kind of irrelevant when it comes to the seasonal population. So we do have to be extra careful when using census data, as we saw with short-term rental. So, okay. So we have a motion, it's been supported. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, you want to go to page 62. Next up, item 8, zoning ordinance text amendment. Request to review section 901.4.E to amend standards to allow longer timeframes for recreational units in a campground within B3 Waterfront Business District. This is requested by Calhaven Bike Campground. And we're going to do a public hearing for this one as soon as Kate gives us a little synopsis.
Sure. Actually, I think Nick's a lot more familiar with this than I am, so I'm going to defer to Nick to kind of walk us through the staff report as well as the background on this.
Sure. So the applicant is requesting an amendment to the zoning ordinance. There's a procedure in the zoning ordinance that allows members of the public to do this. You file an application with the Planning Commission, just like any other application you consider. I don't think this process is used all that often, but it is something that's provided for. The application specifically requesting that a provision of the B3 ordinance that provides the some regulations for campgrounds, which is a use by special use permit in that district, and currently has some provisions about how long one can stay in the campground. It's limited to 21 consecutive nights. They're asking that that provision be changed to allow for seasonal stays. The application doesn't specifically define what that means. If the if the commission is interested in taking up this ordinance, might want to consider defining that in some way, whether in terms of months or nights or something to that effect. But the basic request is to lengthen that 21 days to something longer, probably covering most of the summer. So the Planning Commission packet, the staff report, goes into a lot of detail about a proposed project on an adjoining parcel. The applicant's application says that this request is being made in part to service a future proposed marina. The idea would be that marina patrons would be able to stay there throughout the summer in their RVs and would be able to access their boats by crossing the Calhaven Trail and keeping their boats there for the summer. The staff report goes into some detail about why that marina project has some conceptual difficulties. It has been presented at the Harbor Commission before, and they had a lot of questions about parking and access to that site. Since it's a commercial use, it can't be accessed on Black River Road. There's a zoning ordinance provision that prevents that. So all of this is to say is that marina project may have some difficulties getting approved. It would need some variances. And the staff report kind of questions whether it makes sense to do this ordinance amendment given those difficulties. In a subsequent conversation with the applicant's attorney, who I believe is here tonight, he said that although the applicant's request kind of tied the two together, tied the marina use, the proposed marina to this request, they are related in a sense, but he also said the applicant just wants this extension even if the marina never occurs. It will make it easier for him to compete with other campgrounds, and he just thinks that it's needed from a business perspective for the specific campground as it exists. Again, I believe he's in the audience and can speak to that issue, but just wanted to make that clear, given that the staff report goes into such detail about the proposed marina. That's kind of a lot of information. There's even more information in the staff report. There's a lot of background on these properties, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Nick? So we're going to do a public hearing on this request as well.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Does anybody wish to speak to this project? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Does the applicant or the applicant's attorney wish to come up to speak about the project?
Good evening. Jeff Crampton from Cornkin Crampton on behalf of the applicant, Calhaven. I'm also here with David Nixon, who's one of the shareholders of Calhaven. And I want to emphasize that while this wasn't perhaps the most artfully requested proposal, what our proposal really is to eliminate that paragraph, and it's a standalone proposal. Yes, we would eventually like to be able to have a marina or boat slips and have each boat slip assigned to one of the RV spots so that you could have both for the summer. This does not involve that. Calhaven is at an enormous competitive advantage because this provision applies only to Calhaven. There's no other campground that is limited to a 21-day stay. And I don't know if that's a function of that they were grandfathered in or that they're just not in the same zoning district as Calhaven. But I drove through there tonight. There were 5 of the 26 spots occupied. Cal Haven has not been making money. Cal Haven's been losing money every year. I know the last couple of years, the shareholders have had to pay the property taxes out of their own pockets. And so right now, since no one else no other property is required to turn over so frequently, they can rent to people who want to be there seasonally. And that means Cal Haven is basically, its only competitor is the state campground. The state has limited its sites, but that's because they didn't want the public to come and just hog a spot. You know, somebody come and hog the spot for the whole summer. They wanted the public to actually, you know, to turn over so more people could use it. We're a private entity. We're not a public entity, so we don't share those concerns. We want our spots rented. If they're not rented, we don't make any money. We don't make any money. We keep pumping money into it. And so while all the other private campgrounds can have stays for far longer than this, we're the only ones that can't. And so regardless of whether the marina parcel ever gets developed or ever has slips or, you know, anything ever comes of that, we really need this provision lifted to make this a viable campground for us so that we can hopefully begin to be making money again. It's a beautiful spot, but like I said, I think there are 5 people using it right now, and it's June. Part of that is this lovely weather we've been having, but I can't believe that's all of it. And if you had seasonal, they would come up and they would be here through this lovely weather and probably spend more time in restaurants around here because they don't want to be out hanging outside. So I am happy to answer any other questions, but I really hope that, and I appreciate all the comments, and it was good to read the staff comments, but they were 99% directed toward the marina and the problems with that. That's a whole different ask. Eventually, I expect Cal Haven to come back with engineering and other types of things and perhaps ask for that, and maybe you'll grant it, maybe you won't. But whether you do or not, this provision is killing us. And so we're asking that you simply eliminate it and so that we can compete in the rest of the marketplace.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Brought my own pointer. All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
No, actually, that was confusing me because, you know, I know that the state park obviously has their rules, so this is only specific to yours.
Yes, it's
Because
the
it's
state
a
park
private
has-
campground.
The state park has a similar rule, but those are from the DNR. Those are their
Right.
rules. This is the only one that the city is imposing on campgrounds, but it's only on this campground because it's only in this district.
Okay.
It only applies in this district, which is the waterfront commercial district. And I don't think there's any other campgrounds
Yeah, and that's what I
in a
was gonna ask,
waterfront
Kate, do we have
commercial
any other
district.
campgrounds in
And
the
if there
city?
is, they were grandfathered.
I think Nick and I actually talked about this earlier. There are some other campgrounds, but they're not campgrounds. One's a site condo, like Boatyard Basin.
Correct. So there are some other properties that I think the applicant has considered to be campground and has mentioned in previous meetings. They're not technically campground under the zoning ordinance. They are mobile. There's some that are mobile home parks. I think there's a property pretty near this property that is technically a mobile home park and has pads, I believe, but not RVs.
Okay.
So that's a distinction from the zoning purposes that makes this provision apply to the applicant's property, but not to the nearby property. There's some other campground-looking facilities in the city that I believe were approved as site condominiums, meaning that they're actually owned by the people who are bringing their RVs in. So this campground is unique enough from those other ones that this provision applies only to it. I believe that's an accurate statement.
Okay, because that's the only thing, because once you amend an ordinance, it could be then amended for any future or other campgrounds.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think this is the only property it applies to at the moment.
And quite frankly, I'm not sure there's any other waterfront commercial property that would lend itself to be a campground. They're not making any more waterfront. Well, recently they are, but not permanent.
And I think that's what makes this unique in that it is about the only piece of property, but it is more of a campground compared with the other properties when you physically go on site and look at them, you can kind of see the differences in the actual land itself. This just seems, this would be easier if it was single going right at the campground stage, but it seems to be, a dual project with the marina, which makes it a little tougher to kind of get through what we have. And I can understand the plight of the investors, knowing that their competition, or at least a potential perceived competition, has longer stays, but then again, those individuals aren't driving away with their vehicles, or if they are, it's because it's an owned piece of condo property. So that makes some of the differences. It might be easier if this came back as a standalone project.
Well, and I want to emphasize, it is. I mean,
It is.
we cannot make a go of this campground as is, and so this is a standalone request, regardless of whether that other property can ever be developed. But put it this way, that other project will never happen if this doesn't happen first. But it still may not. I don't know.
Yeah, because when you
know.
look at, if this particular was allowed to happen, there appears to be, from staff input, a lot of issues that would make this project really help the marina. I mean, although at first thought, yeah, having the campground close, but there's some other hurdles that would need to get over that I'm not sure can be jumped.
There are absolutely other hurdles for the marina itself. But that marina never even gets looked at if you've still got this provision, because I don't know how you would get people in and out of that marina on a more consistent basis than if you had, if they had an RV pad and a dock, and so it's theirs, they're tied together, that's your spot. And so, you put in once and you're there, as opposed to people putting in and taking out, putting in and taking out. So you're right, this helps the other project, but there's got significant other hurdles that, and obviously we would have to come back in front of you guys to talk
Sure.
about that anyway. But the point that I want to emphasize is that this is killing us, we think, with our competition, and we can't even make a go of this piece of property with this in place. And so that's why we're asking. I mean, it really does only apply to us. And if we took it off and we were able to lease these spots for the season, we think we would have a much more stable business and be able to compete and actually, make money.
Okay, we would just need to know if we were going to make this change, that it does apply to everybody in the future. I mean, it would kind of be a big change, and I can see why. But with camping, this could be a tent. This could potentially be, if if we look at the ordinance just says a campground.
That's true, but this ordinance is contained within the waterfront commercial district. I don't know that there's any other waterfront commercial district property that would lend itself.
Right, we've determined that. That's been discussed.
But I think, too, for clarity on what we're looking at here, it's not simply a question in my mind on whether we delete this portion, or we delete this ordinance or not, as opposed to taking a look at what the ordinance calls for now. And as I read the staff comments, the idea of expanding the number of days that's allowed to cover the season would also help to protect any possibility that someone decides to live there year-round.
Correct.
So it's not, to me, a question of whether we strike this. It's more a question of, do we amend it to give them a chance to operate as a campground during the season, but to make sure we protect it, that it doesn't become a residence.
And within the city, I don't think we see camping so much as a product anymore as some type of temporary, long-term vacation home. whether it's on wheels and can be driven in and driven out. Someone wants to come for a season and basically put their camper there for a year. It's just, do we allow that on top of the site, the other properties which have taken a different route?
Yeah, that's one thing that was a concern of mine. Others have made other decisions and have planned their units and their parcels to accommodate those other decisions. And so we're taking this piece of property that hasn't done that and kind of applying that long range. And I wonder how fair that is to those that have made those other decisions.
I don't think that's apples to apples, though. I mean, I don't see that as a straight comparison, though, for the pads and the site things. I mean, I think this is camping
And I don't know all the regulations that are required for these other sites, but if indeed they are more stringent or restrictive than this one, that would be my concern.
I do think it's a bit confusing, but just generally speaking, when you say RV camps to me, what that's always referred to me as the condo lots. You get your place, you bring your RV, you park it for the season. When the season's over, you take your RV and store it. As opposed to what I think the nature of this is to try and keep it a campground where you would have people as short as camping for the weekend. But I think we also have to be clear that we want to avoid it becoming an RV camp, where people come in and say, oh, got my spot, I'm here till November.
Well, I think that's the goal, is to allow that, or at least to probably one of the potential properties. You've got multiple spots, and you may find 10 people want to stay there year-round, and the rest are more flexible in what they can provide. So, we were allowing that with the 21 consecutive move out, come back for another one, 21. They're saying is individuals going to park it there, but if they take, they got to find a place for it for a little bit and then bring it back. And I think they're looking to compete in that. And it's just that we do have this uniqueness, and whenever that was put together, the 21 days, and staff said, they're open to the idea of increasing the maximum days. So we don't get rid of the ordinance so much as we just change the days.
That's
And
right.
what is, trying to determine what a season would be considered.
I think we would consider it about 120 days. I mean, for what it's worth. I agree with, I see your concerns, and I agree. We don't want people there year-round, like it's their home.
But your goal is really to go from a campground to a long-term RV park?
Yes.
Okay. So I think hearing that, the correct action is for them to go to the ZBA. Right? That would be my guess, but what do you think, Nick?
That would be a action. If this body were to deny this request, that they could do that. They'd have to make a case of economic or other hardship. But this avenue is something that's provided in your zoning ordinance. So if the planning commission wants to grant relief through a zoning amendment, it can do that, or it can recommend that council do it. This would be an ordinance amendment that would then have to go to council and be approved. Either avenue is a.
And if they went to zoning, they would still have the opportunity then, and I just want to set this up, they've got X number of spots, 29 spots, or, would they allowed to mix that up with some that are shorter stays and others that are considered an RV park? Would they allow that flexibility if they went that direction?
Through a variance request? Yes, they could do that.
Okay.
And you could do that through the text of the ordinance both bodies can essentially grant the same relief in this case. There's more legal standard. This is legislative. You can kind of do whatever you want. There's legal standards as to the showings they would have to make. And if they don't make those showings, then that body couldn't grant relief. The ZBA couldn't grant relief if they don't meet the variance standards.
And if they went through the ZBA, that would only be specific to them, or would that change?
That would be specific to them,
So that wouldn't change the ordinance?
correct?
Because that, I think, is one of our fears, is that to
Right.
change the ordinance, to amend the whole ordinance, it would only be specific to them. Yeah?
Right, and it looks like through zoning, would they have quicker relief going the zoning route than going through an amendment?
Time is time.
It would probably be about, well, it depends on if we could amend this language on the fly tonight, and so we would have an approvable ordinance to send to council at their next meeting. That would be faster. If we had to tinker with this, come back for another planning commission meeting, then go to council, that would be slower than just getting on the ZBA agenda at the next. It's not a huge difference between the two, but.
Zoning is cleaner.
And then, but you got to make sure you can get it through the zoning board of appeals. That's another body that has to be dealt with.
Yes, and again, there are specific showings that they have to make. You typically have to show a hardship unique to the property. I think they would have a decent case of making that, but some zoning board members might view that as being kind of the physical layout of the property. There's difference of opinion as to how broadly you interpret that. And there's not really that unique of physical characteristics of this property. It's more unique as compared to the other kind of similar campground type properties in the city. So it would be I think it's kind of a toss-up case at the ZBA.
What would you like to do?
Well, Tim, Mr. Chairman, I think I'd lean towards the ZBA approach myself, with the thought that even if the appeal would be turned down, and I do think they could make a pretty good hardship I think they could make a case that they're being singled out and could get that exception. But even if they don't, they can still continue to operate under the current ordinance, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they'll continue to operate. They're just may not have, the 21 days, so.
Sure.
They're just basically where they're at today.
Okay, so, and can we lend any support to them through the ZBA? I mean, is that weird? I mean, the only concern I have is I don't like amending an ordinance that could potentially affect, future campgrounds. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I really do,
And this is a campground, and that's, I think, that the campgrounds are designed to be, is they're not long-term,
Right.
which I think the best relief there is to go to the zoning and have that change. And there may be a very good case because of the uniqueness of the property, because of the financial discourse, and I think that might be cleaner because we don't know what the future will bring. I'd hate to find out, we do suddenly have some kind of campground, through
Right.
growth of the city, or somebody finds a piece of property, then we got to go back, So I think that would be the best relief, and I'm not sure if in our motion, we can say we think it, would be better served there. And I think that's a better way to go. I think the chairman made a suggestion in that direction as well, and I would support his opinion.
The chair can't make a motion, though.
That is true. Could best make a motion. You want to do that, Mike?
Give me the words and I will, but,
The motion would need to make clear this is a denial of the request for a zoning amendment, or deny a recommendation for an amendment to the zoning ordinance. But if you wanted to tack on some language about having the ZBA consider, or you could even have, has the applicant paid a fee for this application?
Yes.
I believe in the past, this
Yes.
body has made a motion to waive the application fee at the ZBA level.
we've done that.
Yes, so you could deny and request that staff waive the fee for a ZBA application.
All right, well, help me with the words here. I make a motion that we deny the request as brought forward and recommend that they take their request to the Zoning Board of Appeals with the stipulation that the fees that they've already paid. How do we say that?
Any additional fees be
No
waived?
additional fee.
Be waived.
Yeah, the application fee, I think is the same at both boards.
Oh, as long as it's the same, it's not twice, and then they get it for 50%. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I would second that.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. Marcia, do you have the language?
I have that Nice made a motion to deny the request as brought forward and recommend that the applicants take their request to the ZBA with a stipulation that the application fee be waived. Second by Gruber.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, we're moving on to page 79, and seeing the majority of those in attendance in the audience are still here, I'm guessing that's why they're here. So item 9, marijuana business zoning ordinance amendments, public hearing. Kate, would you like to start us off?
Sure. After several months, we are now at the position of having two model ordinances before the Planning Commission. We have a district-by-district model, and then we have an overlay model. We have also allowed in the packet, we put the 200-foot buffers. That is mirrored in both ordinances. I believe there was some concern or some confusion, at least maybe on my part, about which, if you wanted 500-foot or 200-foot, but I put all of the maps in here for the Planning Commission to designate what they would like to see. We can move this along to page 79, which begins in your packet. Oh, here we are already. And again, the ordinances are pretty much a mirror except for where the businesses would be located. I can defer to Nick to kind of go through what we're at here, if you would like to go through more of that, or if you'd like to look at maps.
I'm pretty confident in what's in front of us. Do you guys need any further rundown?
Yes.
Okay. Larry does.
Sure. So at the last meeting, we presented a draft ordinance, and if you recall, it had some highlighted language. I think something was highlighted in yellow. That was the district-by-district option. And under that one, each type of business would have a certain list of districts where it would be allowed. I believe it was blue at the last meeting, was the overlay option, in which there would be two zones or two areas of the city specified for marijuana businesses, and all of the marijuana business types would be allowed in those two areas. And the Planning Commission asked that we prepare model ordinances reflecting each of those two options. So the first ordinance that appears in your packet, we'll call it option 1, although I'm not sure I don't think it has a stamp that says it on it, but I believe it begins on page 81 of the packet. That is the district-by-district option. You'll see it has section titles for each of the B1, B2 districts, and specifically adds marijuana businesses in those areas. Option 2 comes later in the packet, following the maps for option 1, beginning on, let's see, that is page 98 of the packet. And it creates a new section that defines the overlay and the boundaries of the overlay, the permitted uses of the overlay, provides that the dimensional regulations in the overlay are just those in the underlying district. It's a pretty short section. It would be a new section 2,300, and those provisions are on page 102 of your packet. Other than those, what I just described, the two ordinances are identical, and they're identical to what the commission reviewed at the last meeting.
Question?
Yes.
Page 82, 4M. It's just a typo. To obtain marijuana is repeated twice in there.
4M.
Sorry,
Okay.
I've been doing too much proofreading in my
You're really
career.
good. You're really good at this. You catch me every meeting, I think. Okay, thank you.
And that occurs on 4M in both of your draft ordinances.
Okay.
4C, could you give me a little explanation there? I think it was C.
4C.
Is that under performance standards?
Performance standards or buffering requirements?
No. It had
No
to do-
marijuana.
It had to do with some action that needs to be taken by the
Oh, yes.
the clerk.
Yes, so there is going to be a separate ordinance that's not yet drafted that's going to define and spell out the process by which the specific licensees get their licenses, and that will be up to the city council to determine how that is done. It's not really a zoning issue. This board was asked to look at where these businesses are going to go. The city council then need to make the decision as to how the licenses will be allocated. There's a number of different ways to do that other communities have done. Lotteries, first come, first served system, some type of merits-based system. We'll be discussing all those issues at the council level. And this is just a cross-reference to whatever that ordinance ends up looking like. It's got to comply with that ordinance in order to be permitted.
Okay. I assume then that you'll work that out, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yes, we didn't want to bother this body with those intricacies.
4J, where you're talking about the details of the odor control. There's very specific language there on cubic feet per minute and all that. It seems to me that wouldn't apply to anything other than grower and processor. Any of the other facilities would not have enough odor generated to require that kind of detailed air handling systems.
So I have, this language is taken from other ordinances, other communities. I think originated in Colorado is what I heard when I first was introduced to this language. And I know that it has been applied in other communities across the board to all marijuana facilities. I think even dispensaries do have some odor, although obviously not as strong. I think that's a valid point and one that I'm not overly qualified to speak on, whether this is overkill for those facilities, but I do know that it's been done in other communities. And I know that we got correspondence saying that it was overkill for anything other than a grower or provisioning center. And I apologize, but I can't say one way or the other, even how much this costs. So I think that's something that would, if commenters have knowledge on it, that's something that would be good to consider.
Yeah, I've worked around laboratories quite a lot, and I can't picture that the quality control laboratories that we're considering here would generate that big a problem that you need that many cubic feet per minute of airflow and something this sophisticated. And it certainly doesn't seem that a provisioning center would need that much. So I guess my approach at this point was let's proceed. When we get a motion on the table, I'll amend that motion or however it turns out to see how my fellow commissioners feel at that time.
Do you have any more?
Those are my,
Okay.
no, well, yes, that's all.
That's all for now?
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Nick or Kate? All right.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. And this is for both the recreational and the medical?
Yes, so the way that this ordinance works, it defines all of the uses as, so for example, a grower as licensed
Right.
under either. So from a zoning standpoint, we don't really need to make those distinctions. The licensing ordinance might very well distinguish between them, probably will need to because the state statutes are written so differently. We tried to simplify this from a
Right.
zoning perspective as much as we could. These are the regulations for both.
Okay.
And just to update the commission, the state has said that the recreational regulations that they're doing it through an emergency procedure, so they'll be temporary and they won't go through public comment and that type of thing, but they're supposed to be out this month. So by the time city council considers this ordinance, we will be able to take a look at the emergency regulations and make sure that there's nothing inconsistent. So that's good news. It was unclear
Yeah.
until recently whether they would wait the entire year to get those out like they did for medical. They are putting them out now, and they're actually going to they're saying they're going to begin accepting applications even before the December deadline. I think the fall is what they're aiming for. So they're going quicker this time than last
Wow,
time.
okay.
All right, anything else? No? Okay, so now let's receive public comment for these two proposals. Open a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing on the ordinance amendments for marijuana.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. So now we're open for public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak, just come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes, state your name and address. And first come, first serve.
Hi there.
Hi.
My name's Beth Steer. I live at 42 Apache Court. Thank you for serving here in the city, and I appreciate it.
You might want to move the mic just a little
Mic.
closer. It'll.
Like that?
There you go.
Okay, thanks. I want to thank you for everything you do to do good things in the city here. Oh, I thought I've dropped something. Thank you. I'm here because I know you've been making quite a bit of headway regarding the marijuana issue here in town. And I'm realizing that at the planning level, much planning's already been done. And but I'm asking you to just consider my words. I want to emphasize that I'm not against in any way true medical marijuana. My own daughter used some medical marijuana to help her near the end of her life for pain control. Actually, it didn't work, but she used it. And I know that it's legal in the state, and it's used and around, although it's still illegal at the federal level. And I know that people who need true medical marijuana can just go over to Bangor, or recreational for that matter too, and they can bring it back here. We know that. But I'm asking if any of you have read this book, Tell Your Children, by Alex Berenson. And it's a research-based and historical book about the history of marijuana and the truth about marijuana, mental illness, and violence. It's a very interesting book. And it talks about the tie-in to psychosis, schizophrenia, and violence, and wherever it becomes more used. Issues some states and towns, I know you've heard this, but I'm just going to reemphasize it. Issues some states and towns have experienced are homelessness for people who decide they want to be near it and get easier access, job and driving accidents, for which there is no test like there is for alcohol. Increases in emergency room visits due to marijuana issues, and I don't want to hurt that man's feeling about the camping, but he'd be a great setup for that. Of course, all the campgrounds would be here. So we're a town of less than 5,000 with a high percentage of poverty already in the area. And so I'm just asking, I'm new to this. I've been gone for a while, but asking what other businesses can be brought to this area that would increase people coming into town, buying these houses in town instead of marijuana. I also don't want to see this town become a destination marijuana town, especially as we do grow to 50 or so thousand people every summer. So I'm just asking if it can still be done, what can be done to opt out at the planning level and at the higher levels. So thank you. And it's a great book. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Not a comfort book. Okay, thanks.
Next. Name and address, please.
Hi, Fred Meyer, 144 Dunkley. We did a video of the new dispensary that will be opening in a couple weeks in Bangor, and I wonder if any of you had an opportunity to look at it.
Yes.
You did, it's good to see it. Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate that. We're very proud of it. We're landlords, we really don't know much about the business. I partner with a couple guys in owning the property, but we're very proud of the build-out. It's a beautiful, beautiful store. I think it could hold its own against any retail shop in all of Southwest Michigan. They did a wonderful job. And I think we as a city should be proud of a business like that if it were to come here. Proud to have it throughout the district-to-district zoning area. It's a very beautiful store. And it's a professional organization that owns it. They're in 6 states. They have 22 dispensaries. They hire hundreds of employees. They've hired a manager out of Allegan who's a college graduate. He hired an assistant manager who's a pharmacist that'll work in the store. They've got quality people. They have kept in mind security, safety, even the products. The only reason they're not open is they will not buy caregiver product. They will only buy from licensed, and there's a time frame to be able to do that. Their customer, a lot of times you think of a dispensary, you think of the stoners. Well, that's not their customer. Their customers is more of an affluent customer. They're 60 plus, a lot of them. Truly find benefits in using medical marijuana. You know, when I was first approached on a piece of property that we owned, I wasn't for it, but I did my homework. My son lives out on the West Coast, and I was able to visit some dispensaries out there, and I was very surprised how nice they were done. And then I got into the benefits, the medical benefits, the jobs that you know, because of it, the revenue that's generated. In fact, just recently, there was a study that by the end of 2020, there'll be 250,000 jobs in the cannabis industry in the United States. There'll be $2 billion plus in sales of cannabis. And you know, not every business is going to be nice as Herbology. That's the one in Bangor that'll be opening soon. But most of them will be pretty nice. It takes a lot to qualify to be able to open these businesses. And again, I think it's your job to, if this all moves forward, to select and pick the businesses that will be successful. We have capitalism in this country, and we know there'll be failures. It's a new industry, but the strong will flourish. Again, I feel quality business like this throughout the district area will be a plus for this city. And I invite, if anybody would like to come, we've only got a couple more weeks, and even I can't go in there. You have to have a medical marijuana card. But I'd be glad to set up a time where you could come and take a look and meet the manager and maybe get more questions answered. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hi, I think everybody knows me. I'm Judy Stimpson, and I used to be on this austere group. I live at 761 St. Joseph Street. For every fact that's stated in one perception of what's happening, there's the other side. I had sent a lot of documents to this group and to the council on the facts that I have found from government sources and things like that don't communicate the concerns that some people have. In fact, Colorado has had less young people get involved with drugs. They've had less traffic accidents, etc. The reason why I think it's important to be here is I can afford, I'm medical, my husband is, for different reasons. As you get older, as the gentleman said, some of these things pertain. But we can afford to go anywhere in the state And even, we've had our licenses for 6 years, and we used to have to go to Lansing or Ann Arbor, and we can afford to do that. What we do by making a decision as a city to not provide the medical service, which is what I'm talking about, locally, and I think that decision's been made already, is the people that don't have the money are the people that don't have access to it. I had a patient that I was helping that didn't have a car. He did pass away in February, but I was the only way he could get something, because I had to go to Bangor or Kalamazoo and pick it up for him. When we don't provide medicine for cancer patients or for the pain that my husband has or any of the multiple reasons that I can say why people do use medical cannabis, my husband hasn't had a narcotic in 4 years. And I think that that's very important information, fact-based. I live with it, and the cannabis has allowed him to get off of that. But I think we need to consider all the economic groups when we're making these decisions, because the people that can afford to get it, they'll get it, and whether it's adult or medical. But it's the people that can't make it out of town, and at least the transport, they could, get to a dispensary here in town. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Maybe just very briefly. Hi, Joe Meyer, 308 Superior. There's no safe drug for everyone, and my grandpa was an alcoholic, and that hurt me certainly. And I recently relocated from Portland, Oregon, and I'll say the storefront doesn't really smell at all. You can walk past them all the time. They're all over the place. I think there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, and I think Portland may have missed some opportunities, and I hope this body considers the right way to do it. You only have to go to South Beach to know it's coming, and sort of statistically speaking, I think heroin, if you take that once, you have about an 80% chance of being addicted, and marijuana and alcohol are both similar, around 15%. So nothing's great for everyone, and I think there's a right way to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. How many here wish to speak tonight, just out of curiosity, that haven't spoken yet? Okay, thank you.
Jan Haglund, 811 Congress Street. I have a ball of yarn. I bought a prop. And this yarn has 200 feet length. And my husband and I tonight, we decided, let's see how far 200 feet go and how close that is to City Hall, or even if City Hall is 200 feet long. Do you have any idea? Nobody has any idea. This ball of yarn, which is very close to 200 feet, does not extend the entire length of City Hall. And I am wondering why you have lowered the 1,000-foot limit by 800 feet of having dispensaries close to our public schools and our parks and our religious institutions. And I just would like some understanding on that. What is your reasoning for that? We know the effects of marijuana. It's well documented. Our Health and Human Services know it. Our mental health services know it. It has, to be truthful and to be honest, which you can research from Mayo, many different places, there is not a strong proof that even medical marijuana does any better than some of the other drugs that are available to Americans. And more information is coming out on marijuana every day. And I believe that people are beginning to question, is it good for society? Is it good for South Haven? Is it good for the youth of South Haven? imagine if our high school were right outside this wall. All they would have to do to get to a provisioning center, or someone that has walked in a provisioning center and come back out with their marijuana, which can be given, and we all know that a lot of things are done under the table. And it would be from the west wall of City Hall to right over there that they could get some marijuana. And why put our youth through that? This past week, I spoke with a couple of people that are well known in this community for what they do for our youth. And I asked them, I said, how do you feel about marijuana? What do you think of it for our community? The first person, which I'm sure you would all know, said, she didn't even say anything at first. She sighed and she said, it's one more thing. And then I ran into another person who also does much for our community with youth. And I asked her the same question. I said, what do you think of what's going on with us having marijuana in our community? And guess what her response was? It's one more thing. One more thing to put on our youth. One more temptation, and these are my words. And I believe that we need to be more cognizant of the people of South Haven, our youth, the visitors of South Haven. What will happen if we become a tourist destination for marijuana? What will happen for people who are renting their homes here? There are so many aspects to this. You can't just be focused into one thing, that we're going to have industry or we're going to have those things. That's not the uppermost thing. And I wish you would all very carefully consider that. And I thank you for all that you're doing for our community.
Okay, thank you. Next.
I'm Don Bemis, 740 Phillips. Building on what Ms. Haglund said, I circulated a map, you probably all have it now, where I put in what is the state recommended buffer of 1,000 feet. And you'll note that it covers most of South Haven, but not all of South Haven. And I too am curious why a smaller buffer is for some reason better for South Haven. I have heard it's because South Haven is a small town, but really that has nothing to do with it. Because what I understand we're talking about is 1 to 2 of each facility. You can look at this map and see there's plenty of room with a 1,000-foot buffer to put 1 to 2 of each facility. You don't need a 200-foot district to do that. Now that's assuming that you put in marijuana facilities at all, which I'm not in favor of. You have to remember, the voters of Michigan did not vote to legalize marijuana. It's still illegal on the federal level. So you could say that what the voters of Michigan chose to do was ignore the law. Now, what sort of example is the city setting if the city says, we're going to zone in order for this law to be ignored? What other laws can we ignore? And what are the conditions for ignoring a law? How do we tell our children, it's obey the law, but don't worry about this one if you don't like it. Don't worry about this one because somebody else wants something else. What sort of example are we setting? It would be much better to say, until marijuana is legalized on the federal level and is not an illegal product in that way, the city should stay out of it. I believe the city should opt out. We know people will continue to use it. I'm not advocating that we go into any special enforcement actions or anything like that. We know that's going to happen. But with regard to zoning for production, growth, and marketing, that's what they used to call trafficking. we would be contributing to a business marketing an illegal product. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Pat Gaston, 97 Superior Street. I'm kind of coming late to this discussion. I'll just up front say I would have preferred, I would still prefer, if our city would just opt out of this for the time being. I think many communities along Lake Shore have done that. I think they're wise to do that. But, and again, you've spent a lot of time. I appreciate all the time you've spent on this. And in the end, you're going to make a recommendation, but really and truly, it's going to come down, as people have said, to the city council, to the people that we voted for. I didn't vote for you people. Well, no, I didn't vote for you. Anyway, it's going to come down to them. And somehow we're talking about, I'm not even discussing, I don't know, all the different things about marijuana. I understand the medical thing, and I really would not have any problem with a medical marijuana dispensary here in our community. Probably should be in that medical corridor we're always talking about. Makes sense to me. But I keep hearing this 200 feet in this 1,000 feet, and I'm understanding this correctly listening tonight. The state is suggesting 1,000 feet, but somehow this body is suggesting 200 feet. So maybe, I'm just saying that, and that's what's in these ordinances I saw put up here tonight was 200 feet. So that's why I'm assuming that's what you're saying. So I would, just my opinion, again, I think that it's going to come down to city council. I'd prefer this body to say 1,000 feet. And I guess, like I say, I'm coming late to this whole thing. Those are just my opinions. I know the voters of Michigan legalized marijuana. I don't know. I'm not in the head of every person that voted. I think most of them voted. They didn't want this to be a criminal activity. I think that's 90% of the yes votes were based on that, and I agree with that. So anyway, those are just my citizen opinions, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Connie Schaefer, 735 North Shore Drive. I've been struggling with this for a long time. It's very difficult for me to see children that would be around marijuana because there's a lot of studies. But one of the things that I've heard in our meetings a lot when I attend your meeting, city council meeting, is we need industry in our town. We need to have someone come in that can hire people. And I just read this really good article in our newspaper about the new industry that we have in our town. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. We've got this new industry in our town, and they're international. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, I wonder if they would be here if we had said it was okay to have a marijuana growth going over in our industrial area and processing. I wonder if they would have come then, because they would have had the odor, which we've all heard a lot about. And then they're going to have to think about, with all this marijuana law around, and I'm going to need to hire people from this community, and I want to, and that's certainly what we're trying to do, is to get people to come into our community and hire people from our community. And can I still have them pee in a cup? And if they do, and they have, then we can't control that. But my concern was, if they're going to be in our industrial park, and we're going to allow something in our industrial park to grow, to process, to deliver, what is that going to do to our opportunity for somebody like what it sounds like we've got a great new opportunity here in this community to hire? And I'm thinking, if they, I wonder if they knew that, and if they did know that, would they have come? And so that's just one of my concerns about, yes, we need industry, yes, we need jobs, I'm all for that, but I hope something like this that might be over in that park would not keep us from getting somebody really great again. So I don't know who talked to him and who got him here, but thank you for doing it. And this is just one of my little brainstorms that I've been thinking about. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Larry Gignac, 144 Dunkley. I'm also a landlord, a partner of Fred's, who spoke a little earlier. What I'm hearing tonight really seems to be confusing the issue. Could the Planning Commission separate medical marijuana from recreational marijuana? It seems like it's two different bodies. One has medical value, and the other, we don't know what value it has. But it seems to me we should be looking at two different proposals, one for medical and one for recreational. The rules are a bit different with the state. The state is still working on the rules for medical or for recreational. The medical marijuana rules are pretty laid out, and they have stringent odor regulations for the grow houses. They have no regulations for odor for dispensaries because dispensaries don't have any odor. I guess that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay. I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support. It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, it's discussion time. We've got the 2 proposals. As a reminder, there's the 200 feet that's in this one. So where do you want to go from here?
I had a couple questions of Nick, if you can help me with this. And by the way, we really do appreciate when people send us information and your opinions, and the video was great. It really does help us to prepare for these things as we consider serious issues here. But when we received the communication about the language in the regulation about the 1,000-foot buffer on the state level, I went back and read the regulation, and that only applies to schools.
Correct.
There's no mention of parks, no mentions of churches, no mentions of, it's just schools. So then I got a little interested and said, okay, where is that coming from? And part of this is what Ms. Stinson said, I truly believe. For every fact you can present me, I can find you a counter one. That's why we vote. And I hold votes sacred. So I do lean towards honoring the opinion of the voters of the state of Michigan here. So I did my due diligent research, and I tried to find the communities closest to us and looked at their buffers. Grand Rapids, 250-foot buffer from residents. They do have the school buffer, 650-foot buffer from other providers, from other medical, or from other institutions. Ann Arbor, none for parks, 600-foot from each other, 1,000-foot on schools. Niles, only buffer is 1,000 from schools. Petoskey, they were really specific. It has to be in B3 zoning, and they also had the school buffer. No, I couldn't find anybody with a park buffer. I couldn't find anybody with a church buffer. I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, but when we're dealing with facts, we have to use facts, folks. So I want to check with you, Nick, if I misread that.
No, that's correct, and it's also only on the recreational side. There is no default rule in the medical statute.
And it also said local bodies can lower that barrier, lower that buffer
So,
to 500.
Right, and I've heard it being called a recommendation. It's it operates like a default rule, so it's just there unless the municipality does something with it. You can call that a recommendation if you want, I suppose, but it's just the kind of blanket rule that's totally alterable or waivable by a municipality.
I guess to my partners up here, I think you full well know where I fall on all this, but my biggest concern is that we draw a delineation between what we're doing by zoning and what we're doing by ordinance. I don't want to send a message to the business community that this community is going to zone away a legal business. You know, that's my concern. Zoning has too big a reach for me. When we do have the ability, and we already have from the city council, we've got some limits already. We're only talking 1 or 2 of each of the units, nothing in the downtown. As someone said, you know, they look back and in their mind, the way they see things in common sense, the thing I find most like this ordinance is our liquor control system. I love the discussion on the 200-foot ball of yarn. Do you know how far I have to walk to get a glass of alcohol in this town? Now, I'm pretty sure a dispensary for marijuana is going to have a whole lot more security than I'm not going to mention any party stores, but there's one that's known for having their miniatures on the counter that if you can get that clerk just a little bit looking the other way, boom, it's in your pocket and gone. Hopefully, you know, some children in your neighborhood will tell you about that. So, I mean, we got to be reasonable in our approach here. And philosophically, I don't want to try and do by zoning regulation something that goes against the will of the voters of Michigan. I do understand Mr. Bemis's argument that, yep, it's not legal federally. Understood. Understood.
Well, I think just bringing up the zoning, there's already 3 times the number of municipalities that aren't even touching it. So for us to even discuss and recommend a zoning ordinance, what puts us in the 25% of the communities within the state that are even considering allowing businesses in.
So,
But I mean, that I think that says a lot to us being, from a progressive standpoint, of actually bringing up a zoning.
And again, I'm suggesting to you, I think there are other ways to do it. And we don't like the product, so we're gonna use zoning to restrict it. What if I don't like shoes? You know, if we're worried about our youth, you know, the biggest thing affecting our youth in this, in growing up in the States is obesity. Should we get rid of bakeries? You know, we have to be reasonable. We can do by ordinance. We can do by proper regulation all the things we need to do to protect our kids. I'm not an advocate of marijuana. We get our views through the lenses we were raised by. Don and I are the same age. He doesn't know this. But 50 years ago, I went to college for the first time, too. I happened to work my way through school, working at United Parcel Service, so I couldn't touch any of that stuff because I needed my job. You know, but that didn't keep me away from living in a house with a whole lot of people who did. I remember Don saying, yeah, a lot of my friends opt in and never opted out. Well, let me tell you about the folks that lived in my household. One of them is a local kid from South Haven, as a matter of fact, who went on to become a VP of AT&T. Did pretty well for himself. Another one became a state senator, a Republican state senator. Another one became the director of IT at EDS. Yes, we did have 2 people whose lives didn't turn out great. They both became alcoholics. So I just think we need to be open-minded here to say, okay, how do we accomplish what we are concerned about in our community, yet still honor the will of the voters of the state of Michigan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, so first of all, you know, we legalized marijuana by 52%. We didn't approve, you know, anything else but that. And so, you know, to Clark's point, there are municipalities and townships that have already opted out. So that the fact that we are considering this and the fact that we are going to recommend this to council, which it's up to them what happens next. And we've already used zoning in not allowing it in the CBD, and I find that fascinating because that's where businesses go. So we're already honoring, their request not to put a business where businesses go. So the fact that, we're supposed to use zoning, that's already a moot point. I'll put it right out there. I'm pretty stuck on this, and I know that our chairman, I've thought about this a lot. Tim, you do a great job, and I know you're going to want to funnel this into one recommendation to council, but I'm looking at an overlay. We have used overlays. They are successful. I don't think that, I think that putting it east of Blue Star is no great hardship for anybody. It takes it away from the residents, and I think that as we look at buffers, as we look at the residents, so, you want to put it in zoning, B1, B2, B3, that's putting it in very close proximity to residents. And again, we made it legal, but we didn't, those voters that made it by 52%, that is not a clear mandate. In no way do I think that and again, this is Planning Commission, folks. You got some big meetings coming up, Clark, that in no way do I think that, personally, I think that we should put it in anywhere near the residents who then have to deal with this. And as far as personal opinions on any of this, it doesn't matter what we approve, how we feel about this, and if we look at obesity or alcohol. But I do think that an overlay is the only way to go, and that's the only way I would look at a 200-foot buffer. And that's the only way. One thing I would answer to the 1,000 or even the 500-foot buffer is that I do know that as we look at this, the state, I know I read it somewhere, and I know Michael and I have talked about it, we are not allowed to put unnecessary, what was the word? Restrictions on anything we do. So, I mean, 1,000-foot buffer in a town this size, using a small town, would be almost an unnecessary or too big of a restriction, and we could be called on it. I think that we could be called on something like that. But anyways, that's what I have to say. And I know that could be a problem as we look at, as we go to what we're going to offer to council. But I think an overlay is appropriate. It wouldn't be a hardship for anybody. I think that the building and the provisioning center that you're building in Bangor is gorgeous. You can't put it down in the CBD anyways. It's prettier than some of the buildings and the businesses that are down there already. But anyways, that's what I have to say, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Well, at this point, I think everybody knows how I feel. I still say, is it too late for us to opt out? Why do we have to continue with this? Because I don't want it in my community. It is a business. Why can't it go down in the business district? And to your point, yes, the medical marijuana, I understand it. But then I don't if it's not controlled, because I know where a young lady got her mother's card, went and got the marijuana, came back, used it, and offered it to other kids. That is my thing, and then putting it in our communities where it's so easily accessible to our children. I've got children, grandchildren. My children are grown, but I've got small grandchildren and nieces and nephews. And as far as it goes in my community, I don't want it. Like I said, there's a plenty issues already there that exist that we're trying to take care of, that we don't need this into the community. And, you know, I say this, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. And to me, we're not standing up as a community to say, let's opt out of this right now, let's not, you know, rush into it. To me, it's like, it's a money factor. It's money. And that's how I'm looking at it, that it's just making money. We're on the water. People come in. We're this resort town. They come in, they buy it, they go. And then also, it's a setup for failure for a lot of our young people, because a lot of the jobs, our job, as I said, bought in HR people. No, it may be legal, but it's unacceptable. So you get these, and I'm saying kids, that use it, and then they lose their jobs because they're randomly tested. So for me, I don't care if it's 1,000, 2,000 foot buffer. I say no. I don't, you know, go along with it. You know, you use Colorado as an example, but have you really talked to somebody that's been in Colorado, in a lot of the different areas where the people were using the marijuana, ended up losing their jobs because they were, and the homeless rate is so high. And that's what I'm looking at here. We were talking about last year bringing in jobs and bringing in different things so we could bring people into our community. I want people in here, but not like this. Not, you know, with the marijuana. I want people to come into our community. I want jobs to be bought in. The, you know, industrial park, it is a nice place, but I'm close to the industrial park. So I definitely don't want it there. So why couldn't it be in the CBD? It's a business. Put it where business is, not around the parks, the schools, and like your stats, you know. But I still say it's you know, we shouldn't have it. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I guess I'm leaning towards the overlay as well. I think that's a good opportunity to provide the direction of city council where to put something. At the same time, I think it's easier to control, and it provides a space. And just like some of the places I've been in Colorado, that tourism is a large chunk of their business, they have placed the marijuana businesses in a spot that's outside of the recreational side of the tourism. So I think that's a good way to go, and that's what I would probably recommend.
Anybody else? Or does anybody want to make a
Again,
motion?
Let me be clear. I wouldn't stand in the way of the overlay. I don't feel that strongly. I just think that I hope we are making the decision based on proper use of our charge here. I got to say, and I am so sympathetic to all the stories I hear, but please believe me, marijuana's already in the hands of kids in this town. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder for them to get it if it's controlled. Nothing we can do here is going to stop my neighbor from putting in his garden, because the state's still going to allow that. I won't have a garden, but I guarantee I can think of 3 people within 200 feet of me that are going to have their garden going. It's a lot easier for a kid to sneak into somebody's garden. I don't know. I won't stand in the way of the overlay, but I think we should think about what message we're sending to businesses. And by gosh, I just want us to be consistent with our values we stated in other discussions in this body. When we said property rights are here. Well, that applies to business property owners too. I just want us to be consistent in the way we look at things.
All right, is anybody interested in making a motion of any type?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we proceed with the overlay draft ordinance.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported
To recommend.
To recommend the overlay ordinance. Any other discussion?
I have a question. Does that include the 200-foot buffer?
As written, I assume.
As written, it includes everything as written. Yes. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wish to move an amendment to the previous motion.
Okay.
To strike the word south of Aylworth Avenue or from section 23002.
You have it written on there.
Yeah, written here, yes.
It's page 102. So Larry's saying he'd like it to read, the marijuana business overlay zoning district shall consist of all land located east of Blue Star Highway.
What you're referring to, Larry, is, Clark, is that the light industrial area?
Yeah, that takes out the industrial area south of
Like Lovejoy in
Aylesworth
that area.
in his amendment to the amendment. Area 2.
So Area 2 would be omitted from the,
That's the amendment that I proposed.
Is there support for that?
I'll support that.
If I could now explain my,
Yes.
discuss my, when I originally proposed the overlay zone, I proposed just east of Blue Star. Clark mentioned this area, and I said, let's take a look at that and consider it. I view including that area as let's open up all of the industrial to this particular industry and see if we can't fill our industrial areas. I think this is an industry that has a lot of controversy behind it. A high percentage of a good sized minority of our population here in this town is not in favor of this industry. And I think striking this from our ordinance is a recognition of the feelings of that large minority. And so I'm suggesting that we take that out of our recommended.
Any other discussion on this amendment?
No, that's excellent. And, actually, I think you said that. That was kind of an interesting point that you made about the businesses and how they felt about going in with other, marijuana businesses, and that if that is ever a concern, we would have other industrial. So, good point.
Anybody else?
I think again, like I said, I don't want, and certainly don't, one vote's not going to sway anybody, but I think adding that amendment, I couldn't support the overlay. I see no reason why that substance or that processing, that labs, I mean, I'm not sure what chemicals Albemarle makes. I'm not so sure there's not some pharmaceutical manufacturers that we don't know what goes on beyond the brick walls. I think this is the ordinances that the state constructed. I couldn't support it. I think it's a legitimate business use. I think that's away from our kids. I think it would help to bring in jobs that pay more than the seasonal work that we offer, that we get through tourism. So I couldn't support it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I won't support the taking out of the 2. I think there's some good land there that can be utilized, and I did want to put it in, so I like the overlay, but I'm probably not in support of the second amendment. That didn't come out the right way, but.
All right, just so everybody's clear, the proposed amendment is to remove Area 2. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call on this. The amendment to the motion. We're only doing the amendment.
All right. Okay.
Gruber,
No.
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
No.
Placati,
Yes.
Barney,
No.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Stegman.
No.
Four noes and 3 yeses.
Okay, so the amendment does not pass. So we're back to the original motion, which is to approve the overlay district. Is there any other discussion? None? Really? Okay. No, you know what? I have some comments, I think, before we do any vote now. A little discussion. I have a couple notes. We've heard some talk, people say, well, the availability, I'd rather stay here than have to travel. And I found it kind of funny tonight, of all nights, we're approving a new hospital. And now we're looking at an overlay, which doesn't really include the hospital area to have a business like this. So I question, how much of this is really legitimate medical usage, right? But I'll remind everybody, we're here at City Council's request. And City Council is basically telling us these are legitimate business types. But we also know that the federal government does not recognize this as, it's still illegal. So that's kind of a dilemma, isn't it? Which way to go with that? So, we're assuming these business types are desirable in the community, but yet we are looking at an overlay, and we're not looking at district by district. And as I've stated many times, I thought prematurely this commission pulled certain zoning districts out before they were fully vetted. I also know that when we voted on this statewide, that Ward 3, which a lot of the business area encompasses, they voted no. It was, I believe, Wards 1 and 2 that helped push the passage of the proposal. So that's an issue for council to really look at. You have these business zoning areas that are in Ward 3. And Ward 3 said no. So what my thought is with this is we don't send, because I don't think we can. I think we're a little split. You've heard a lot of comments tonight that are all over the place, and I think council really needs to receive some more citizen input on this. I think the recommendation we should send is, hey, here we have a zoning district by district. Here's an overlay. And the third one is to opt out. Give them all 3 and let them have their public hearing, give people more of a chance to comment. And we've done our job as a planning commission. If these are legitimate business types, here's where they can go. But I don't think any of us here has enough input yet from our citizens. And definitely, we were appointed, not voted upon or elected. So I would say let Clark and his crew really delve into which of those 3 options is the best. And I would ask somebody else here to add on to Larry's motion to amend that to include the other 2 options. Because here's also the consideration is if we go to vote on this overlay and there's enough no votes, then it's off the table, and then you are district by district.
But as I understand it, council, we can present our recommendation. That doesn't mean that they necessarily have to follow our recommendation. And they could look at something else if they so choose.
I guess
And
kinda see
if
it
there's
Jan's
enough,
way.
and if there's enough votes for the overlay, I mean, they can, we are looking at this as a recommendation, so why don't we give a recommendation?
I can give all 3 recommendations.
in all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I don't think the city council asked us to give them 3 recommendations. They asked us to make a recommendation. What they do with it is going to be their business, but we were asked to give them a recommendation, and I think that's what we should do. Whether it's a unanimous recommendation or a 4-3, I think we need to make our best recommendation. Have we had enough input from the public? We've been sitting around this table now for 4 months talking about this, and I haven't seen a meeting yet that somebody wasn't out there to give us their opinion.
Well, if you're trying to convince me that the overlay district is the way to go, that just tells me you want marijuana outside of the community. And I don't think that's overwhelmingly convincing. So that's why I say just send.
Well, don't put words in my mouth.
Send the 3.
That's not what I'm telling you.
Why the overlay compared to the district by district then?
I think it's easier to maintain. I think it's going to be easier to enforce. I don't mean maintain, I mean easier to describe. It's going to be easier to enforce. It makes a smaller footprint. If I could define a smaller area somewhere else, I might try to do that. Those are my 3 reasons.
And I guess I fall back pretty much in agreement with Larry. I mean, I do think it's our job to give a recommendation. With all due respect, we've spent a lot of time studying this. And during none of that study did opt-out come out until tonight. The public had plenty of chances to come in and talk to us before we reached this point. I'm at a point where I'm pretty comfortable with the compromise, just as we've compromised before on very contentious issues, that says, okay, let's send them the overlay as a recommendation. We can certainly, as citizens, we can get a hold of our ward representative and say, hey, look, there's still some sentiment for opt-out. But I think the overlay will still afford a fair opportunity to businesses to investigate whether it's feasible for them. I do agree it'd be easier to enforce. But again, to me, it's my compromise position. It's certainly not what I would prefer.
I do have one more amendment I'd like to propose, Mr. Chairman, if I could. I would move an amendment to section 151035.4.J.
What page are you on, Larry?
Just a minute, I have to scroll down to find the page number.
Or I might have to put words in your mouth if I don't know what page you're on.
That wouldn't be too sanitary, now would it? That is page 100.
Page 100.
Yes.
That has to do with the odor?
It has to do with the odor.
Oh, the odor.
J would now, as I am amending, read marijuana grower and processor businesses must control and eliminate odor.
Is there support for his motion?
I support.
Any other discussion? Let's do a roll call on this as well. It's an amendment to the overlay.
Could someone repeat the section for me?
Section 1510.35.4.J.
Okay. And that's to restrict it to just growers and processors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody clear on what the?
Yeah, I think that's a little cleanup.
What the amendment is?
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Placati,
Yes.
Varney,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Stegman.
No. Okay, the amendment passes. So we now have a motion of the overlay 1 and 2 with this odor amendment. Is there any other discussion on this? Everybody's clear what we're voting on? Okay. So we will call roll for the whole ordinance approval now.
So the amendment's to remove that section?
We already passed that, so now it's
The
the overlay 1 and 2 with that amendment.
Okay.
So motion to recommend overlay with areas 1 and 2 with the additional qualifications that the odor control be applied to only growers and processors.
Okay, Neese,
Yes?
Placati,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Stegman.
No. Okay.
Ta-da.
Drum roll.
Well, at this point.
All right,
yeah.
next up is item 10, which is
Yep, went too far.
the electric scooter regulatory ordinance discussion item. Okay, take it away.
Sure, I'll make this brief. Really, there's been some newer transportational devices out there. Some may be coming to our town. Before that would come to us, we wanted to kind of get some feedback from the Planning Commission as to what they'd like to see with some of these devices. Some of these can be dockless, meaning they could be parked anywhere and picked up anywhere. A lot of companies like Lime and Bird kind of do this kind of model. So really, we had two questions we wanted to have your feedback on, and one is, if you were to allow these transportational devices, which some could say are already allowed on city streets, would you want them to be left or parked in the right-of-way, the city's right-of-way? And whether their use should be restricted to city streets, and more specifically, we have a wheel control zone already in place for many of the downtown and across the bridge and down to Water Street and South Beach along the pathways. Some people may think that some of these electric scooters could be driven on the sidewalks. Does the Planning Commission believe that they should be in the roadway and into the city streets, or should these be allowed on trails and sidewalks? So those two questions are being posed to you.
Anybody have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I travel a lot in bigger cities. Those scooters are everywhere, and they zip around the sidewalks, and they're like little gnats. You know, out of all the things I see, you go to a larger city, bicycles are in a bike lane or on the road. These things are pretty much left anywhere, and typically they're rented through an app, right on your phone. You know, I like our wheel-free zone. You know, I bike in that area all the time in the street where I'm allowed to, but I don't ride my bike in that area. And having that wheel-free zone makes it easier for people to walk in that area, but we have the entire rest of the city. I can see these coming. I already see the mopeds, you know, being raced around and everything else, and fine, they're in the street, but it's just another thing to try to maneuver in the sidewalk. So if we had it, I certainly would continue that wheel-free zone. But primarily, that's where you see them when you go to a big city, is in the big city. But, you know, their sidewalks are 3 times the size ours are. So that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
And I would agree with that, and actually, I would love to extend that, because I walk everywhere all the time, and our town is so small. I can't walk the dogs, I can't take my my grandkids with the strollers, because they're in the neighborhoods, and they're on the sidewalks. And it's very difficult to walk, and they don't care, because they are our guests. I mean, if it was a kid I knew, I would say, hey, you know, get in the street, or even with the bicycles, they're on our sidewalks. And it's with our guests, you know, we're all trying to vie for those walks since it's nice out, and it's just becoming really hard on our sidewalks. So anything we can do, but I would love to extend that to be all yellow, but I know I won't get my way.
Yeah, and I'm going to show my get off my lawn side of me, but I agree with Rosalie. the bicycles on the sidewalks has gotten as bad as I've seen it in a long, long, long time. And I walk my dogs, I jog, to add any more wheels on our sidewalks, to me, is just like, no way. Just my opinion.
So, Nick, what would we be doing? Amending the first sentence in section 22-36 to include electric? Is that what we're looking at?
So this is really here for, just for comment purposes. I think this is ultimately a city council ordinance. It's not in the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
The comments seem to be limit wheels on sidewalks, especially in downtown and even
We're your
outside.
focus group, is that what you're saying?
Yes, it did, yeah.
That's a dangerous thing, isn't it?
Well, it's more difficult now than ever because of the outdoor seating.
Sure.
Which we didn't have a few years ago, so, yeah.
And I talked with Brian about this today, and he was aware this was going to be the last item on the agenda. If Planning Commission wants to look at this ordinance more and wants it to come back next week, next meeting with a full staff report on what it would and wouldn't do and what's possible and not possible, we can do that. We knew you weren't going to have the steam to do that kind of conversation tonight after just doing marijuana. So if you want to see it again, you can. Otherwise, it can go to City Council with your comments.
May I ask a related question? It doesn't have to do anything with this necessarily, but is there a noise ordinance for mopeds?
Good question.
I'm going to guess that, like any motor vehicle, there are noise, like if you don't have a properly working muffler, but to be honest with you, what the standards are, I just don't know right now.
I was curious. As we get more and more in our city, I was just wondering about that.
Sure. I'm sure that there's something under the motor vehicle code, but I don't have that right in front of me.
Okay, you have enough on that one?
Yeah, I guess the only thing that hasn't been addressed is how do you feel about it being in the right-of-way? Or those being left or parked in the right-of-way, the electric scooters? Now, typically, just kind of clarify, if you have a bike, you can park it at a bike rack, and that could be parked on city property. But there, as Clark said, there's volumes of these devices out. Do you want them left in city property without either having a license agreement or something to that effect? I know that we kind of talked about this now.
And I was primarily saying if a business comes, because what they are is they're just there, and at night, someone picks them up, charges them up, and they just leave them throughout the city. Oh, yeah. They're
Right,
just
they're-
randomly left here and there. It's not like when you go and you see a bike rack and the bikes are locked up and you can ride from spot to spot and then you relock it back in. Nope, you just rent it for 30 minutes or whatever, and when you're done, it just turns off and you just leave it on the side of the road and then someone else just picks it up when they want it. It's pretty weird.
When I was in Phoenix, that's what they were doing, and I was like, okay. But they left them nice and neat. They weren't all like this, jumbo.
Okay.
So I don't know if we wanted racks for them to go in, a
So we'd have
specific
to make sure
spot.
they
But
were-
then you even couldn't do that because, like Clark was saying, they just leave them randomly. Wherever you're at, where your 30 minutes is up, it cuts off, and you leave it there.
Then we get into, I think you're going to have to come back, Nick, because then we get into the issue of, do we provide city space or city bike racks for commercial purposes? And
And it is a commercial purpose. I mean, people, when you see a bike, it's their bike, or they've rented it from someplace for the day or the weekend. It's theirs, they go back to that bike. These, you just pick a different one up.
Okay, we can bring this back.
All right, very good. Any staff comments?
No comments, thank you.
Any commission comments?
just thanks to everybody up here. Always love discussing issues with you.
I agree. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, I appreciate all the various opinions and positions.
We worked pretty hard on this one. I don't think quite as hard as we did on the short-term rentals, but it's been a tough issue, and appreciate everybody's input and staff time on it also.
Just the same.
Couple of questions. Have we advertised the planner position as yet?
No, we have not. No, part of the reason was we have a new HR person that just started this week. We wanted to get that new person, kind of get her feet under her, and we will be using her to post a new position. We've been pretty happy with our Williams and Works Consulting. It's been a bit of a trying to working things out, but we think we've got a groove, and we've been pretty happy with their work. So we're going to have that working out as we post it pretty soon.
Will we be having election of officers soon?
We should. I think what we were waiting to do is find out if the the city council is going to be appointing a new.
No, that hasn't been done yet either.
No.
Okay.
As soon as we have that, I would like to put that on the agenda. So, just to let you know, Suzanne is stepping down from the board. We're waiting for the the city council to appoint that open seat.
Again, I appreciate all of the input from the public, pro, con, middle of the road, whether it's been emails or videos, all the hard work by staff and legal counsel, and definitely everybody up here who has had more than an earful here and other places. So thank you all.
Just want to agree with everyone else. Thank you.
Well, as planning goes, you know, today's June 6th, and 75 years ago, the biggest planning of all was taken off. And even though we didn't do a moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting, we probably should have, just in memory of that great event. So with that, when's our next meeting?
Our next meeting should be July 11th.
Okay.
Like a whole month away?
We'll see you.
A month and 1 week.
Just to make sure, because we stacked quite a few on. So with that, we'll see you July 7th, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and multiple seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.